Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and the Lakers are eliminated. It went from Lakers in 5 to they played 5 playoff games. The Minnesota Timberwolves advanced to the second round, and I real quick want to give them some quick flowers. I did that a lot in my last video, but I mean, this game, Rudy Gobert, no joke, the best game of his career. 27 points, 24 rebounds. That's a playoff career high with the scoring, 12 of 15 from the floor, 2 blocks. He was incredible. Plus 18 on the game. Julius Randle, 23, 5 and 4. Easily the best playoff series of his career. Like, Anthony Edwards was over 11 from 3 after being Steph Curry the whole season, had just 15 points. They shot 7 of 47 from 3 as a team, and they go ahead and still manage to take down the Lakers. They move on to face the winner of Golden State Houston. That's going to a game 6. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, Minnesota, a lot of credit to them. I already admitted I was wrong. I underestimated them a little bit. And with the Lakers, clearly I overestimated, but I was also right about them in a way, because back a little bit after the Luka trade happened, I think they had played like 5, 6, 7 games, something along those lines. The hype was really starting to build around that team, and people were starting to say, could this team compete for the championship this season? And I made a video saying that the Lakers might be terrifying or something along those lines. And I said, yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going for them. They look scary when things are really cooking. This is a terrifying force of a team. But also that I wasn't ready to call them a championship contender because of a few reasons. Number one, I'm a believer that you can't make a trade that big in the middle of a season and still go on to win a championship. Because when making a trade like that, number one, you change your identity way too much. They went from LeBron and AD, this hyper dominant defensive big man, to LeBron and Luka, who's now this elite playmaking scoring guard. And sure, he's better than Anthony Davis, but it's a pretty quick change to make on the fly, flipping your identity immediately like that. Not to mention, they didn't have time to go ahead and add all the pieces necessary to make that identity flip in the best way possible. They tried to trade for Mark Williams, and that ended up falling through. Mark Williams actually throwing shade at the Lakers on Twitter and Instagram after the game, which is hilarious. I love this league and all its drama, but they didn't have time to go ahead and add more big men than Mark Williams. They tried to make that one. Apparently, they didn't feel like it worked out. So they go into the second half of the season, and they've got some good defensive moments, but the defense starts to slip a lot. You're seeing that the depth is not exactly where you want it to be, and they go into the series against Minnesota, and all those things get exposed. The defense was bad. Down the stretch of the season, it was bad in this series. And it's not just because this is a bad defensive team. Like, they don't have a lot of personnel. They don't have a big man, so they're having to exert a bunch of extra effort against a really big Minnesota team to keep up with them. They're trying to fly around left and right to make up for just the utter lack of size that they have, and it leads to the guys being exhausted. You could see at the end of last game when their 5 guys, the 5 starters minus Jackson Hayes, insert Dorian Finney-Smith, played the entire last 24 minutes. And that's a controversial move from JJ Redick, one that I personally didn't agree with, but I do understand the urgency from JJ Redick, and maybe under different circumstances this would have worked out, but it didn't, because this is a team that has already exerted so much energy throughout the series, and they were just completely exhausted at the end of the game, making so many mistakes. That's what happened every game pretty much, is in the fourth quarter, they didn't stand a chance because they were running around left and right trying to make defensive plays against this supersized team while they're tiny, and you're just exhausted. So that shows up again here in game 5, where it felt like LeBron settled for a lot of jumpers, where Luka really didn't seem like himself. Also had that moment where he kind of folded in and he hurt his back after the Dante DiVincenzo foul. You could tell he was laboring a lot after that one too, and in the end still puts up 28 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. Luka's kind of insane, but the defense from him was bad. Austin Reeves was bad on that end. LeBron was bad on that end. It's just not a very good defensive team, and the extra effort they have to exert definitely isn't helping that. Offensively, I think the fatigue also really got to them, because there were times in the regular season when they looked like this offensive juggernaut, and sure, they played a great defense in Minnesota, but I also think because Austin Reeves really didn't have it going throughout the series, and because they were exerting so much on the defensive end, the offense got really stagnant, it got stale, and they end up falling apart. They don't have the depth. In today's NBA, you need a lot of depth to win a championship. The days are gone of you being able to have like the 2 best players in the series, although Ant was by far the best player in the series himself, but you know, you could argue who's in what order with Luka, Ant, LeBron, whatever, but they've got 2 of the top 3 players in the series. It just doesn't matter, because the Wolves are so much deeper. They're so much better built. And that's what's going to happen when you make a trade this big in the middle of the season. I've been saying that over and over and over again here on YouTube and on Twitter and on TikTok, wherever. And people just kept saying that I was crazy, that the Lakers were going to beat the Thunder in a 7-game series. That was unrealistic to put on them. If you put like championship expectations, you say the Lakers are going to win the title on this team, it was just unrealistic. It was shooting too high. I feel like in this offseason, if they make the right moves, if they bring in the right pieces, they can be a championship contender next year. I firmly believe that. They've got the top two guys. Reeves, I think, is still a great third, even though he underperformed. You bring in some better defenders, you bring in actual big men, you get some time to build out a roster with real cohesion, and you can compete next year. I truly believe that. But to think they were going to do it on the fly, completely flip their identity and win a Western Conference that's headlined by one of the most dominant teams we've seen in a long time in the Thunder and multiple other really good squads like the Timberwolves and the Clippers and the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Warriors, it was unrealistic. It was never going to happen. So yeah, I was wrong about the Lakers in saying that they were going to make the Western Conference Finals, but I was right in saying that they weren't ready to compete for a championship. And that's fine. Like, I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's this major indictment on Luka and LeBron. Like, you can be upset with this if you're a Lakers fan, and we can talk about what went wrong for them because there were a lot of things that Redick didn't do well. LeBron didn't play well enough in a lot of these games. Luka didn't play well enough. A lot of guys underperformed. There are certainly concerns, but they're fixable this offseason. And me personally, I didn't have these sky high, they're going to win the championship expectations. I never did. So that's, I guess, kind of my thought process on this Lakers team. In the offseason, yeah, definitely need to add multiple big men, 2, if not 3. They've got to add more versatility on the wing, like add more defensive wings. Dorian Finney-Smith did a really good job, but I think you need to try and find more guys of that ilk. I think you need to get a better bench guard than a Gabe Vincent. I just don't think he was playable enough in this series, and maybe you're not able to get all of that. Maybe you have to get something at the deadline. I'm not really sure what the path is because they don't have a lot of assets. Like, that is definitely a concern, but they didn't have to give up, everything in the Luka trade. Again, shout Nico Harrison to allow them to keep at least one of their first-round picks, but there are paths. There are paths to them fixing this, and I think they're going to come back a lot better next year. It was just people were expecting too much from this Lakers team. In the middle of the season, making the biggest trade ever to win a championship, that's crazy. You need continuity, you need chemistry, you need time in this NBA. And there are people, I think I tweeted out about the Lakers thing, the trade thing, and there are people saying, oh, but the Wolves made a trade. Yeah, but they made that massive deal at the beginning of the season. And you saw for the first little under half of a year, they looked straight up bad. It seemed like they weren't even going to make the playoffs. And they end up making it because they've got the time to figure things out. They made it work. And here they are, going on to the second round. And I think there's a real chance they're in the conference finals. I think they could definitely beat either Houston or Golden State, whoever comes out of that series. And I'm really happy that one's going to a game 6. I hope it goes game 7 because I've been having a lot of fun with it. Shout out to the Rockets making a statement tonight. I'll get to them again in a moment. But yeah, this Wolves team, everyone's going to kind of talk about the Lakers, I imagine. Like, I am making this Lakers video specifically because I just talked about the Wolves. Otherwise, this would be a Wolves win video because I know it sucks when your team beats the Lakers in the playoffs or whatever. And the whole conversation is what went wrong with the Lakers and not what went right with my team. So if you want to hear me talk a lot more about Minnesota, not only will there be a series preview coming out in a few days of whoever they end up playing, but also the video before this. I talked a lot about what they did well, the way that they've proven me wrong, and they have, which has been super cool to see. I love to see a team exceed expectations. Anthony Edwards now has taken down Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Luka Doncic in the last 2 years in the playoffs. That's a hell of a resume to go ahead and start off like your ascension to superstardom in the NBA. So shout out to Ant, shout out to Julius Randle. I mean, you want to talk about rebuilding some of your value in one playoff series? He did exactly that. He can go ahead and decline that player option. He's good. He's going to make a lot of money going to this offseason. And Rudy Gobert, coming into this series, one of the big question marks was how playable was he going to be? And there were moments where he wasn't out there because offensively he was just not a very tenable option. But in this game, when they need him, when they can't shoot the basketball, Rudy dominates on the glass, dominates on the interior, dunking left and right. This is a legacy type of game for Rudy Gobert. And he needed one of these. So yeah, shout out to this whole Minnesota team. The Lakers, I do think they'll be back. I think next year they're going to be really good again. I don't think this is the end. I don't think this is LeBron's last game. I'm seeing a couple people tweet saying that, oh, is this over for LeBron? Was that the last time we're going to see him? I'd be stunned. Now that Luka's here especially, I think his window has been stretched out a little bit. I think at least next season he's going to play. Next year might be his last season, which would be insane. And it's really crazy to even think about that being a possibility. I mean, there's plenty of time to talk about that in the offseason. But I think at the very least it's next season, if not maybe at least one more year. But I definitely don't think this was it. I don't think he's going out on a first-round exit to the Timberwolves in the playoffs. Well, now he's got Luka Doncic and they've got an offseason to reshape this roster. I just don't see any way that that's going to happen. So yeah, we'll see LeBron back. We'll see Luka back. I think Reeves will be back. I think Rui will probably be back. Rui was pretty good, especially tonight, 5 threes, 23 points. I imagine DFS, like I think they'll keep maybe that top 5-ish. They just got to find ways to fill out the rest of the roster because it's just not good enough. But yeah, I guess that's the Lakers season. Again, I didn't have the expectation. Some people did. So I'm not like super disappointed in the way that they performed. Like I am shocked that they went out this quickly and kind of this sad here at the end. But I thought it was going to happen at some point. I guess it just happened earlier than I thought. Shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And yeah, I think that's kind of all I've got on that front. Let me know what you were expecting from the Lakers in these playoffs. Did you think they could win the championship? Were you one of the people saying Lakers in 5 over the Thunder, which I'm so glad that UFC, KFC, OKC, whatever Lakers in 5 thing is over now, because I was trying not to crash out about it on Twitter and stuff like that. I was just like, okay, the playoffs will speak for themselves. And here we are in the moment. But yeah. Shout out to the Rockets for going ahead and winning, knocking off Golden State in dominant fashion, 131-116. This game actually got close towards the end. The Rockets were up by how much? 31, and it got down to 13 in the fourth quarter, and that was like the third stringers. It was Cam Spencer or Pat Spencer. I did the exact same thing they did late in this game when Pat Spencer got into an altercation with Alperen Şengün, and he threw a headbutt and he got ejected, and they said that Cam Spencer was ejected. I did the whole thing, but Pat Spencer was really good in this game down the stretch. Kevin Knox played some really good minutes too. Moses Moody was awesome. Like the starters, Steph Curry only played 23, only 20 from Pod, 17 from Draymond, 25 from Jimmy Butler, 17 from Buddy Hield. Like they rolled with these third stringers and they were giving it to the third stringers of the Houston Rockets. Even when they put back in the starters, they were chipping at it a little bit. And I feel like Steve Kerr probably should have just at least put in like Steph Curry for a couple of minutes and seen if something could happen. But I guess he just didn't want to risk the injury and decided that the third stringers had earned it enough. Although Pat Spencer gets ejected, and then it's like, okay, yeah, that's a clear spot to put Steph Curry in. And he puts in Buddy Hield. And then the lead pretty quickly balloons back to 15 points, which is what they end up winning by. But yeah, the Rockets, I mean, it was just a statement game. 25, 6, 3, 5, and 3 from Amin Thompson. This was the game we've been waiting for. He had a really good last game too. But Amin, the way that he stepped up in this one was so major. He was the best player in a playoff game that features Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Alperen Şengün. Like, by far, wasn't even really a conversation. That is special type of stuff. Fred VanVleet, did he have another kid? He had 26 points with 4 threes, 24 from Dillon Brooks, who was awesome. Not a great Jalen Green game again, but it didn't really matter. Şengün, 15, 9, and 9 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. Tari Eason, 9 points. Everybody played well on this Rockets team, and they just stifled the Warriors completely defensively. Like, they just didn't stand a chance. This is the way they need to win. They need to muck things up. They've got to come out strong early. They can't fall behind like they did last game and try and play comeback. You can't do that with Golden State. You've got to punch them first. You've got to punch them square in the jaw, and I guess if you're Pat Spencer, you throw a headbutt back. If you're the Warriors, let's see if they can do that in Game 6, but for the moment, huge statement from the Rockets. A lot of people thought it was just straight up over, that they didn't stand a chance in this game, that they were going to roll over and die. They haven't done that all season. They didn't do it here. And it's cool to see a young team fight the way that they have. Continue to battle back against a team that's given you so many issues throughout your recent franchise history. They're not going to say die. They're going to keep on fighting, and hopefully they fight all the way to a Game 7, because I've been loving this series. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the playoff games from today. Again, I want to hear what your thoughts are with the Los Angeles Lakers. Were you disappointed? Was this your expectation? What should they do in this offseason to fix up this team? And then for Rockets Warriors, do you think that the Rockets can force a Game 7, or are the Warriors going to knock this off in 6 games? And which one of those teams do you think has a better chance on beating the Minnesota Timberwolves and advancing to the conference finals? It is crazy to think about. It's going to be one of the Rockets, the Warriors, or the Wolves going to the conference finals. Like, it's either an extremely young Rockets team or it's one of these two squads that were so low at different points in the season. It's really, really just crazy. A crazy year in the Western Conference. But I appreciate you watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos, including a number of playoff series previews coming up. I think tomorrow's video maybe will be a Cavs-Pacers series preview, so be on the lookout for that. And of course, when the Thunder have their opponent, that one will come. The Wolves versus whoever, Knicks Celtics, which I presume is going to happen, or maybe it's Celtics Pistons. Maybe I'm hating on the Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball, hopefully that made up for it. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real Wednesday back.